Welcome back, it's Bailiwick at Guernsey Shipwrecks. It's now Thursday evening and we're just about to go out and have another look at the Rontegui, trying to establish what's what on it. Today we got Phil Worry and today our captain is Paul Caro.
Ah, the old Beta.
The old Beta Marines. It's the first blue one I've ever seen. It's normally always red.
No, it came red and it's gone blue. it was red. Yeah, I know. It's had 4 coats of blue since then.
Yeah. Some lovely little yellow highlights.
Yeah, some bullies.
Yeah, it never even started it and it had already changed colour.
Sweet as a nut. So this is where we're heading. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's another one a bit further out, but there's loads of heads, really dangerous heads here. And we're aiming in this area. All the way around. Rocks all the way, they're all jagged. You can see anyone there, their compass was messing up like the Rontegui's was. Due to the iron ore, apparently, the compass started playing up. Coming in here, you're in serious issues. As a sailing ship, it'd be even worse. Especially on a day like today where the wind's coming across us in the northeasterly. And a leeward shore, you'd want to stay well away.
This is where the engine block is here.
Yeah. Pretty rough ground down there.
Yeah, it is. I'll probably drop you, what do you reckon, on that or in the prop?
Yeah, drop me right out. I'll first run the prop. I'll try this in the prop if I can, and I'll bounce it off the tight ship.
And then I'll try and tie into it, see where we settle. But given the wind, we're going to settle down in there. So, you know, because this is. The prop is only just there, literally there. In fact, we're coming up to it now.
Yeah, okay.
The prop is just going to be here.
Okay. Suppose we really want to come up and come right, really. Yeah, so
What?
we'll have to come back up on right end of the boat and try to make side to it.
Yeah, ultimately, but I mean, you're not going to go far, right? You know, somebody will be able to go.
Let's take a look from the sky and see what we can see. Let's try and figure out how these rocks look from above. It's pretty cool, you can see the divers going down the line. Yeah, they look just as bad from above. So we have rocks which are awash at near level chart datum, and also we've got rocks that are awash and the height are unknown. Let's just have a look at the rocks here. So we're looking where our symbols are. It certainly doesn't look like the rocks I can see. So the northernmost symbol is roughly where the shipwreck is. Also, something else that's worth noting. Look at the charted position. It's well off from where it should be. But that can be normal. I wouldn't attempt to navigate through these rocks. Look how many things there are to hit. This is what the rocks look like at this state of tide. It's low tide at the moment. Could you imagine getting any issues with your engine and your engine cutting out? You'd be on the rock before you knew it. Just trying to see if I can see any wreckage from the sky. Can't really work it out. The water's a little bit murky and it's just coming off a big tide as well. Oh well. Better head back to the boat before the birds start taking me out the sky. You can just about work out the divers there. They're on the end of our shot line, which is roughly the propeller and rudder area. So, what's going on now? Well, this is our line. We're tied into the wreck, a big heavy part of the wreck. Phil's done that, and the boys have gone down the line. Just see their bubbles. One of them's there and one of them's over here. Phil's scouted the whole area. He's trying to build up a bit of a picture in his head that he's going to relay to me when he comes up. The plates and stuff on the boat actually stopped towards that second boue. So the wreckage is all in this area. We're not quite sure how it run aground. We don't know what direction it came in from. So basically we're above the prop shaft and propeller and keel section, and we're almost halfway between the engine blocks. So the propeller's down this end and the engine blocks at that end. So what I'll do today is I'll try and get a compass bearing on the prop shaft, but that's not really going to help us because in the tide it could have turned and dropped and revolved around as it broke up on the head. But it's always useful to have it, a direction of the wreck, or rough direction of the wreck. You should be able to work it out by the debris field, but I've got a feeling on this one it's well and truly smashed up. Went aground in 1880, so it was 141 years ago. It's a long time ago. Some of the scenery. Got Fort La Plum there, or people call it Fort La Marchant. And then as you come around here, you've got Lancress and Pembroke, and come onto here, the Genoa I think it's called. That's Moncuay Quarry. And Roos is that direction towards that telegraph pole thing, the antennae. So the plan on this dive is try and get a feel for how the wreck's laying, and I'm going to do a little sketch like I do with most of the wrecks. Just get a little sketch. I mean, it's not going to be out of date as quickly as some of the other sketches I've done. Even after 5 years, the ammo wreck has completely changed. And some of the smaller wrecks, like the cement wreck as well. Anyway, it's nice to just get these things documented. If not for us, for our kids, for the museum. So, just paints up a nice broader picture of what quality of shipwrecks we've got in Guernsey, and by doing the sketches and stuff, it tries putting stuff almost in context so you can sort of imagine what happened. Albeit the time has elapsed so far now, you probably won't figure out what's what. Because I reckon there's been a fair few storms in 141 years. And for instance, you head in that direction where you're going to the UK, probably down to about there, like Plymouth. But if you headed in that direction, it's a few thousand miles and you hit South America. You can imagine the tide coming off the Atlantic, up the channel, English Channel, and rolling straight in here. Hundreds of tons per wave. I mean, there has been calculations done by engineers on the breakwater in Alderney, and I think it's something like 150 tons per wave. Imagine that, 150 tons impact every couple of seconds. It's going to hurt. Here we go, back into the water. So pull myself down the shot line. Phil's died into around the rudder. I suppose it'd be the prop aperture. You can see at the bottom of the picture there's a round hole, which is where the rudder pintles would have sat inside. So there's one on the top, there's one in the middle, directly behind the propeller, and there's also a socket the rudder would have sat in at the bottom on the keel. And I can see I'm counting how many blades are on the propeller. So it's quite a large propeller, approximately 8 or 9 feet across, and you can see the bottom ones are still in fairly good condition. The reason this prop is still left here after the salvage it's had is the fact it's just a steel prop, so it's not a bronze prop, so it's not worth much. You can see the 2 top blades are missing, they're sheared in half. So that could have been two things. It could have been it glanced a reef on the tips of the blades and it just folded off, or it could have been as it's rolled over. Doesn't seem to be any real damage on the aperture for the prop to sit in. So you can see here we're at 6.4 meters, diving on air. It's very shallow, less than 10 or 12 meters, so there's loads and loads of seaweed on it, loads of kelp, loads of other marine growth. So on the first dive, when we cut off a bit of weed on this, we noticed there was rope that was wrapped around the shaft on the prop. Just wanted to check, just being nosy like I do, just seeing if it was an old shot line, but it seems to be long cut rope-like threads of rubber tire, which is what you get on a crab pot. So we think it's just pot rope. So you can see all the marine growth on top of this. So the whole part of this section is roughly maybe 100 degrees off of the center line of the propeller shaft. It's laying over to its starboard side. And here you can see down towards the prop shaft. That's we're actually looking inside the V off the back of the boat now. The keel on this part of the ship is almost facing north, and this is the keel, and now we come down to a hob, which is would have been on the end of the prop shaft. So this prop shaft, like I said, is basically 100 degrees ish from the stern section, the very extreme stern section. You can see here, trying to show you the angle it's laying at. So my plan on this dive was just trying to establish a centre line, and the best way to find a centre line a true centre line is, oh, there's a rockfish. The best way to find a true centre line of the boat is just to follow the prop shaft. It's normally a heavy, bulky piece of metal, and there's normally frost blocks in there or a way of connecting it down to the keel. So I've decided to try and establish that line and take a compass bearing. So if I look out to what would have been the port side of the boat, I can see there's bits of metal and ribs from the boat that are sticking up with some marine life on. So I've decided I've seen enough of the prop shaft. My plan is to come back down that prop shaft. So I'm just trying to figure out if this is the keel or not. So you'll see me taking some of this kelp off the shipwreck. This stuff grows unbelievably fast, and I'd almost guarantee you this kelp would grow back by probably next year, next season. So we're not going to take off any more than we need to, because it is a home and hiding place for sort of marine life, fish, etc. So now I'm looking down and I can see this bottom part of the boat, which looks like the keel to me. Would make sense. You can see some outside sheathing, some sheeting, plating. There's all sorts of bits and bobs down here. So I'm starting to move towards the east now and trying to have a little look, and I notice this tube is sticking out, a bit of copper tubing, and then I quickly realised that someone's tried doing a bit of salvage. There's some rope wrapped around it, and definitely a brass steam tube or some sort of tube made out of precious metal to someone. You can see I just pointed out the rope that someone tied onto it. And we're swimming forward. Here's a rib. So these ribs would have been similar to a rib cage on a human. So this is normally very strong construction, so they're normally left for a long time. So I'm just trying to get my head down under the kelp. It keeps getting in my face and in the camera. It's nice to see a bit of marine life, a bit of fish on here. And then I noticed this large rectangular sheet of metal, quite heavy gauge, with what looks like to be 2.5 or 3 inch holes in it. Just take another look at the keel and see it the weight of the ship bent over that big boulder. So to get a better view of this, I'm going to turn the camera off and then just have a little cut with a knife. So it's had a little bit of haircut. I'll leave some of the smaller ones there because that will give them a little helping hand when they want to start to grow back. So not quite sure what it is. I'm trying to sort of in my mind figure out how far forward I am on the boat. Just trying to figure out in my head how far I've swum. And I've noticed this seems to be a double bottomed boat by the looks of it. That's my best guess. It's airfield tubes. Don't know, they might have had ballast inside them, but the ballast has been washed out. But certainly looks like a double bottomed boat. Plan is to just keep swimming along the parallel line that the outside of the ship is, which is also the parallel line of the prop shaft. Just show me there on 90 degrees, which is true east. Notice how it's void of life underneath the plates. There's no sunlight getting down to it because it's in the shadows. The seaweed loves the sun. You can certainly tell this shipwreck hasn't been dived on in many years, because the life and the thickness of some of the growth of the seaweed. I know I said it grows quickly, but no one's been here for a long time. I've gone this far and it seems to have lost the metalwork on the boat, so I'm checking down and looking, and I just can't see any more metal. It's now onto big boulders, and I don't want to be cutting the kelp off of it for no reason. I don't want to be going cleaning up boulders, so I'm just going to leave it, and I've figured out now I'm going to have to go further into the boat, which I have, and now I should be back towards the prop shaft, but the prop shaft's finished here. I seem to have hit the very end of it. I'm not quite sure what this thing is. Could be a gearbox maybe, I don't know, or frost bearing of some sort. Just going to turn the camera off again and give it a little trim up, just so we can see it a bit better. Right, I've found the shaft again and I've cleaned it up, and this is that big box thing on the end, so it's got some sort of bumpy bits on. The bottom looks quite flat, some grooves on it, but I'm sure that the left hand side is the bottom. Just need to clean a bit more stuff off of this side. There's holes in the top, so that must be the top, and then there's another boss on the end, a round connection of some type. There's actually some beefy big holes drilled in this where it looks like the nuts and bolts have come out of. You can see one there at the top. So that's as far as the prop shaft goes, as far as I can see. You would have thought it would have led me to the engine, but not this time. So as I'm working back towards the stern of the prop, I noticed this just on the right hand side, really shiny metal. It looks like copper, but I don't think it is. I think it's just steel that's been abraded by sand or seaweed. I can hear someone shouting for me, but I can't see him, and I feel a tug on my fin. I turn around and Phil's back in the water again. He's got something to show me.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice this last time, but he's found what I think is ballast, brick ballast. So it's quite common of this era to put bricks in as ballast. There's a couple of other Guernsey wrecks like the Iris at Fort of Marchant that's got bricks still embedded in the keel. You can see them all in there stacked. So ballast is pretty much just a heavy weight. You put low down as you can. You want it to be as heavy as you can and the smallest volume as possible. So I'm not quite sure what these are. So we've seen these on the first dive as well. They're basically bricks with some rectangular holes for them, almost like aero blocks. Not quite sure why you'd just stack them in like that. Can't be ballast, because ballast you'd want more volume in it. Could be for pumping water through for cooling, or heat store of some sort. Heating water? I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments. Trying to get a good look into the back, but you can't really see. It's very, very close to the keel, this, and it's in line with that gearbox looking thing. Feels trying to show me something else. This is the plate that I just uncovered before I cleaned up, so we'll have another little look at it again now the dust has settled in the water. So now I'm just going to try and show Phil what we found before. There's the Ballast bricks again. They can stay there. So we're just going to head over back to the centre line of the boat, and I'm going to show Phil this gearbox looking thing. So this is the prop shaft, and this is the that coppery bit that I showed you. So something's been wearing on it. Not quite sure if marine growth would do that, but certainly something's made it shiny. Uncovering this shipwreck as we go, it's quite good that we got you following us as we get excited about uncovering it. It's almost like unwrapping a Christmas present. Should just show and feel these little dimply bits. There's a better view of the bottom of it. And I'm just pointing to Phil to say this is the prop shaft, and it's heading back to where the propeller is. So our next dive will be forward of this this shaft, and you can see there is some sort of structure on the seabed there. But yeah, the next bit is head on that way and see what we got. But for this dive, we're going to turn around and we're going to clean up the main prop shaft and maybe a foot either side, just so we can see it. As you can see here, as you rip off some of the kelp, sometimes the corrosion process of the iron oxide creates a gas, which you can see bubbling out here now. So we're back now, so we'll come all the way back along the prop shaft, which you can see in the bottom left end of the screen, and this is the keel which heads back to the rudder. So we've come down to the end of the prop shaft and taken a left. This is where that prop shaft would have connected to. This is onto feels like to me is a slightly smaller dimension shaft, but it's probably not. And we're going to swim along it just to show you there's another harbor, frost bearing, or running journal, or whatever it is that's holding it in place. This is just on the, now we're on the outside of the keel on the right hand side, because that's the V. And you see Phil here, he's doing the old famous swim through. So we have got some lovely swim throughs on some of these rudders, especially the copper wrecks of beauty. So just showing you a bit of the scale of the size of this propeller as Phil swims by. Doesn't feel like it, but 45 minutes have now elapsed underwater. I'm down to 80-90 bar, and we've gone as far as we want to go. We haven't done a comprehensive search of the stern area, but we now at least know what's happening. So from now on, it's going to be a lot easier for us to figure out. So what Phil's going to do is going to cut the rope that goes up. We're going to leave that loop there because we're going to use that to tie into next time. It's a lot easier to be able to find it if there's that floaty bit of rope that's about 5 foot long. One last look before we leave for the surface. Boat is no longer anchored to the shipwreck, so Paul's just gonna whiz around in a big circle and pick us up. Notice Phil's coiled the rope up and tied it. The last thing we want is that rope going through the propeller. That would not be good.
It's coming in around the corner, folks. I want to run you over. Cheers. Right around the corner. Okay, Paul. There it goes.
Right, that's the gear in the back now. So
Away.
we've got a good, we're now getting a perspective of what this wreck's actually looking like. So we've got some drone footage. I'll superimpose a little sketch on top of it. But we know what's happening now on the stern section, don't we, Phil?
Yeah, well, we can definitely see the prop and the rudder now, and the prop shaft seems to be disappearing up into the reef with a big break in it, heading off in a easterly, westerly direction. So hopefully, if we do a bit more investigation up onto the reef head, we might find the bow, chain locker, and maybe an anchor. So needs more further investigation, I think.
So far we've found some bricks, which probably would have been ballast. We've found some weird bricks, like air bricks, that are all stacked inside that box. What do you reckon that's for?
I don't know. They're like honeycomb. Eh? They're hollow honeycomb bricks, all stacked in a rack inside of a box. Maybe some kind of heat exchanger. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the box has got some holes in it on all 4 sides. So
it's very ornate for what it is, eh? Really.
yeah.
And then we got that big plate with the holes in.
The holes, which looks like an end section of a boiler, but it is square. So I don't know. Most boilers are round. All the boilers I've seen on a wreck. So I don't know what that's going to be.
I think we need to go back again, mate. I think now we've got a clear bit of the stern, but we're not even back up to the engine yet, like we've seen in the first dive.
I didn't see the engine this time. So I want to make a goal of finding the bow, if it's left, if there's anything left of it.
Yeah.
So that's the next mission on dive number 3.
That'll be dive number 3, yeah.
The Rontegui.
Lovely. Cheers for that, mate. And
thank you again.
thanks to everyone for coming along. And we're going to delve a bit further into this Rontegui wreck. We know it hasn't been dived for a long time, possibly 4 decades.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
So it's probably changed since the last people dived it, and over that amount of duration, people have probably forgotten exactly what's there.
Yeah, over the years it does get forgotten in time and gets covered in weed. So we've had a good clean up today and explored a bit more. So join us next time.
Yep, and I'll catch you on the next tide.